Have you noticed that the people that we look up to are most likely the people that are utterly unique? They're the ones that stand out in a crowd, don't blend in, don't really care what other people think of them, and just do and act how they truly want. Now, somehow in our genetic makeup, we got this idea that being self-confident can also translate into arrogant and cocky. And we've kind of let that fear of seeming arrogant to interfere with who we are and subsequently build up this self-doubt. Now, this video is going to explain, first of all, why do we have this self-doubt, but most importantly, a few tips and a few ways to diminish it. But the first thing I want to emphasize is harsh truth time. All these successful people, not one of them is not affected by self-doubt. Everyone, I can guarantee you, everyone on this planet has seconds, fractions, moments, years of self-doubt. It's what makes us who we are. It's actually a good thing in a sense, because we start to acknowledge that we have certain flaws, and from then on we can build on them, move them, and create them to our advantages. So first of all, why is self-doubt good? Second of all, why do we have self-doubt? And third of all, a few tips to manage it. Now, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to introduce yourself in the comment section below. My name is Olympia. I have a degree in cognitive neuroscience and art history. And what I like to do, I like to dissect that pretty little brain of yours to see what makes you tick, but also what makes you talk. So help a girl out by smashing that subscribe button, ringing that bell for your weekly Thursday videos, and let's start. So one of the reasons why we are crippled by self-doubt and why we get these feelings of self-doubt is because we think that we're way more important to other people than we actually are. Most people don't really care what you say or what you think, what you do. They will judge you, but they won't judge you as hardly as they judge themselves. Same thing goes for you. You give much more emphasis to what you're doing and what you're saying, building up that self-doubt, than what someone else did. So basically, we take ourselves way too seriously. The other thing why self-doubt manages to build is that we allow our overthinking to take over our voice, our abilities, our character. So we start ruminating and overthinking of, what if I say something and mess it up? What if I say something stupid? But this person is much more attractive than I am. This person is much more eloquent and much more vocal than I am. We start comparing ourselves with everyone around us, and that basically fuels that self-doubt. So that brings me to my other point in the comparison, is that we look around rather than looking inside. So instead of trying to raise our own bar and live up to our own expectations, we try to live up to the expectations of others. So how do you manage this self-doubt? Like I said, harsh truth time, there's not one person in this world that doesn't have moments of self-doubt. It's completely normal, it's human, it's what makes us who we are, it's what makes us better. But the trick is that instead of you allowing your self-doubt to take over and conquer you, you use your self-doubt in order to fuel your abilities, fuel your traits, and like they say sometimes, flaunt your flaws. So one thing that you have to really be careful of is that you need to be aware of your circle. Now, psychological studies done at Drexel University showed that our brain, our neural pathways change after a 20-minute conversation. So when you talk with someone for 20 minutes, after those 20 minutes, the way you think, the way you feel, the way you respond to a situation changes. That's the beauty of the human brain. So having people around you that are confident, that are healthy, that may even give you like a boost when you're feeling down is really important in building that self-confidence and minimizing that self-doubt. So Jim Rohn said this very popular phrase, "Show me your friend and I will tell you who you are." Basically meaning that we are what we surround ourselves with. So like I said, your circle. And he also said that that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out the most with. So this is the ironic part in this. So when I read this and it says that basically the people that I surround myself, those 5 people that I surround myself most with, is who I am. I thought I don't really have that many people to surround myself with. So even those 5 people, I have like 3. So not only do I not have a myriad of friends that I may select to see who I spend the most time with, I don't even have enough to like put them into my average. And this is the tricky part and the controversial part in my video, is that sometimes when we read stuff like self-help books, quotes, according to what mindset we are in, they can actually become a negative thing. So when I read that, I thought, wow, I do not have 5 people in my life right now that I could be, my who I am could be calculated. And I was thinking, am I too judgmental? Am I a difficult person to be around with? Do people not like me?
What's wrong with me? Ooh, don't open that door.
So you start going down this rabbit hole, basically, and suddenly when you start reading something that supposedly makes you feel better, you just end up feeling worse. Another thing that really helps is listen differently when it comes to constructive criticism, when it comes to criticism in general. So in my previous videos on overthinking, I will link them below, I've emphasized that 70% of our thoughts are negative. So when we listen to feedback, when someone criticizes us, our brain automatically feeds off the negative thing that they said, or we even desperately try to find what the negative part of it is. And if you are chronic overthinkers, if you have self-doubt, you're going to start ruminating about that. So a simple example could be that one of your colleagues is calling you too controlling. You have a presentation to give, and instead of you allowing everyone to participate equally and give in their work, you kind of monopolize it and make it your presentation just because you're afraid to lose control. So if a colleague tells you that, your immediate reaction probably would be, wow, I'm very controlling, people don't like that, people don't like me, I have no one, I'm gonna die alone. Like, that's how it spirals down. So next time you hear a criticism like that, or in general something that you can perceive as negative, instead of letting that cripple and fill you with self-doubt, try and think of ways to fix that and take it as constructive criticism. So if a person says that you're too controlling, basically they're saying that you're not open-minded, and that you do not take in other people's ideas, and that you find that your ideas are either better or safer. So one simple thing to do is become more open-minded. So another thing that is really connected to self-doubt and feeds into that is that we lack self-compassion, which makes sense. They kind of go hand in hand. And I've talked about this in my video on how to stop comparing yourself to others, and also how to say no without feeling guilty. I will link them below. And try and do the movie popcorn exercise. So whatever you are filled with self-doubt with, whether it's doing a good job on a presentation, that you have something to offer in a conversation, that whatever you say may seem stupid, grab a popcorn and replay that in your mind, even if it hasn't happened yet, and see how would you react if someone else felt that way? How would you react if someone else had that thought? And you will see that you are much more compassionate to the feelings of others than those of yourself. Now here's the thing. One thing that I have self-doubt with is that I don't want to be a hypocrite. So I actually took a self-compassion test. I'm going to link it below. And okay, even though it's online, and you always should take things, whatever's online, with a grain of salt, you get an average score of how much self-compassion you have. Now, these are my results. I got a score of 2.21 out of 5. That is not a lot of self-compassion. And I know that, and I'm working towards that. And if you look at factors such as isolation, which, by the way, 4.5, like, I almost got a perfect score on that one. Self-judgment and over-identification. So basically, when you're doing over-identification, you think that whatever's going on around you, whatever the situation is, it has to do with you. It's your fault. The person is having a bad day because of something you did. And those traits, isolation, self-judgment, over-identification, despite whatever your overall scores, if those are your higher ones, that means that you lack even more self-compassion. So drum roll, surprise, surprise, those are my highest scores. So this is why I wanted to make this video for you. And also this is why I wanted to put a guide together of 6 ways to underwhelm when you're overwhelmed. Because when you're overwhelmed and you're overthinking and you're filled with this self-doubt and you're trying to build this confidence, you need some time for your mind to relax, to regroup itself, to see what is my next point. What are your values? Become grounded in who you are. I will link it below. Make sure to check out my site too, and get your free guide. But if you're grounded in your values and if you know who you are, which is something very difficult, we spend our whole life trying to figure out who we are. But if you start writing down, I'm kind, I'm empathetic, I'm generous, I want, and you can even put your wants. So I want to be better at this. I want to be more understanding for this. If you start becoming grounded in your values, you can really start building that self-confidence and minimize that self-doubt. Now, this brings me to another point, which is that I've said again in my overthinking videos, become much more action-oriented rather than problem-oriented. So here's the thing. Psychological studies have shown that when we tell someone our goal, when we tell someone what we want to do, the less likely is that we will do it. The satisfaction we gain from expressing our motivation to do whatever we're supposed to do, the satisfaction we get from expressing that goal, from telling someone what we want to do, takes away from the motivation to actually do it. So if you're wanting to write a book, let's say, and you keep telling one, I'm going to write a book and it's going to be about this and it's going to have these chapters, the fact that you have this self-doubt that whatever you write is not going to be good enough and no one wants to read it, you'll see that just by telling people that you're going to do it instead of actually doing it, you will find that you'll be less motivated to start that book. And lastly, stop comparing your accomplishment, your wins to someone else's. Here's the thing. There's always going to be someone that's worse than you in something, and there's always going to be someone that's better than you at something. And by comparing yourself to others, you do the compare and despair effect, like I've talked in my 2 videos, and you start comparing yourself with others constantly, and without actually trying to raise yourself to your own bar, to your own expectations. The thing is with self-doubt is that once we get this idea that we're not fulfilling our potential and that there are other people out there doing the same thing we're doing and that we're better, it just keeps us more back. And we forget to celebrate those small wins. And this is something that I also want to really put out there in the world. No matter what you've accomplished, no matter if you had self-doubt about something and you took that action and you accomplished it, or even if you tried, which is more than just standing still, that is a win on its own. Now, one thing that we do, which I don't agree with, is that we compare our wins with someone else's. So for example, if you do a presentation and you do really well at work, you're thinking that, okay, well, I actually didn't have to worry about that and that was stupid and I was overthinking. No, because that is you negating your previous self. You're judging what you thought before instead of actually celebrating the win that you did a great job in the presentation. You didn't mess up your words. You didn't forget to include some slides. And the same thing we do in the grand scale of things. We accomplish something or we go through something and then immediately we think, well, this person managed to do it better, or this person has a bigger win because they came from they were a lower financial status. They were not educated like I am. They had a worse mental, physical health, whatever. And lastly, I know this is a long video. Lastly, you need to stop waiting for others to validate your actions and start validating them yourself. The thing is with self-doubt is we feel like suddenly it goes away if someone turns around and be like, good job, you did well, and you're amazing, you're awesome. Now, if you expect people to validate you constantly so to soothe your self-doubt, I can guarantee you that your self-doubt's never going to go away, and you're basically depending on someone else to acknowledge something that you should be acknowledging yourself. And 90% of the time, you will be seeking that validation, and only 10% of that time will a person actually acknowledge something. And if you keep asking for other people to acknowledge you, if you keep asking other people to validate you, long term, this doesn't really bode well. Think about it. My channel is all about shifting perspective and seeing things, mind shifting your mindset. If you spent the time and the energy telling someone how awesome they are, how great they are, how kind, brave, and that person kept diminishing themselves, deprecating themselves, saying that, no, I'm not, and I'm not that confident, and well, that wasn't a big deal, the other person gets tired at some point and doesn't really enjoy being around a person that keeps being a martyr and pitying themselves. So these are a few tips of how to manage your self-doubt, minimize your self-doubt. But remember, self-doubt is not a bad thing. And every successful person in this world will experience self-doubt at some point. Self-doubt is basically acknowledging like what you are, what you represent, where you can fix. It's basically almost a prerequisite of self-development. Without self-doubt, you can't know what your flaws are, and without that, you can't know how to become a better person and help you on the self-development journey. So I hope these tips help. Don't forget to help a girl out by smashing that subscribe button, ringing that bell for your weekly Thursday videos, giving me a huge thumbs up to make Mom algorithm love me, but most importantly, guys, share this video with someone who needs to know how to overcome self-doubt and build that self-confidence. And that's it, folks.